guess. Hey, it is Friday again, and we are live in the Nutmeg Tavern. I want you to relax, take a deep breath, come on in, have a seat. You can ask the barkeep for some refreshment that you would enjoy. I am joined, wait a minute, I am John Townsend, just in case you didn't know, for your host. And behind the bar is Ryan.
Hello, it's good to be here.
There he is. And on the other side of the time vortex, running the console, is Aaron.
Yeah, making sure everything's working.
Is everything working?
Let me know if everything's working in chat.
Is everything working?
Somebody says, "Are we out of nutmeg? Where's John?"
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're back. Let's see.
Are we back? Can I wait? Are we starting over?
Yeah,
we're starting over. We're live apparently again. Well, you know, you just got to keep trying and trying. Welcome to the Nutmeg Tavern. This is the virtual tavern where you get to come in, have a seat, relax. We're gonna chat. If you need a drink, you can talk to the barkeep. Ryan.
Yes.
There
Hello.
he is.
I'm right here.
There's Ryan.
It's good to see you guys today.
I'm your host, John Townsend. Did I already say that? I said it once already today, but it wasn't working. Yeah. On the other side of the time vortex is Aaron.
Hey everyone, let me know if everything looks good, sounds good. Had a little bit of a.
Oh, people can see us. They can see us, Aaron, for sure.
Can they hear us now?
Yeah.
That's good. Hear and see. That's good. Wow. You know, it's incredible to be here today with you, and welcome if you are new to the Nutmeg Tavern. I know some folks have not been into the tavern before, and it is a different kind of experience. Sit back, again, relax. We're gonna have fun. We got lots to talk about today, tons to talk about. In fact, do we need to talk about anything before I get into the topic? No. Let's talk about the topic today. Didn't want to give you a chance to butt in, okay?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I don't know how long ago it was. A couple years ago, we did a regular episode, Old Kitchens versus New, you know, and I love the topic of kitchens. Kitchens are the heart of your house. Everyone lives in a house. If your house only has one room, usually it's part kitchen. So everyone kind of lives in their kitchen. A lot of times people just abandon the dining room altogether. We're gonna cook, we're gonna eat, and half live in the one room of our house. It's the core. And so we're gonna talk about that core of your house in the 18th century, your kitchen. And we've got some wonderful pictures, and I sort of arranged these by time frame. Now, we are familiar with our modern day kitchens. No matter where we're at, you know, they tend to be full of strange appliances, lots of electronic things, electrical things doing jobs for us, all kinds of fuels coming in, whether it's electricity or gas or whatever. But 18th century kitchens and earlier kitchens, man, they are so completely different. Let's start off with our image slideshow. That's not the one I want. Next.
There you go.
The slideshow is stuck at, I don't know where it's at.
Hang on.
Hello, slideshow. Oh, technology.
That one?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
This guy is like super early kitchen. And what's funny is cats show up in just about every kitchen picture, or they very frequently show up. And here, this like 14th or 15th century image of a kitchen, and there's our cat hanging out. But you know why cats are in there? They keep out the mice, right? Where are mice going to be? Where the food's at? That's in the kitchen.
But a little bit of cat fur in your food never hurt
Hey,
anybody.
you know what? It's like extra protein or something, right?
There's
No,
something
wait, don't
close
go
to
back.
protein.
Go back. So this kitchen is what is in our kitchen here, other than our cat. We got a fireplace. Smoke is being carried away. That's actually kind of modern here, but we got this hood that catches the smoke. We've got a table to do the prep work. We even have a tiny bit of storage on the wall back there. Who knows what's in the rooms behind us? And maybe the pantry is off to the side. We can't see it. And this dude sitting at the fire, he's turning the crank. We'll see one of these guys later on. He's holding the hat up. Why is he holding his hat up like that? Well, to keep the heat off of his face, because he's got the hot job, and his legs are burning right now. I've been in that situation. And the other guy's back there, way back from the fire. He doesn't have to worry about getting too hot.
That hood is just like a dunce cap cut down one side.
It is weird and freaky, but I've seen stranger ones. Next. Thank you, Aaron. This is late 16th century. Okay, and this guy is in the kitchen. This is from a great book that talks about different craftspeople in this community, and they have images to go with each one of them. So this image kind of shows up multiple times, but with different people in the position. But we have this raised hearth. We have a very few cooking pots. Look at that. He's got like 3 ceramic cooking pots on his raised fireplace. We don't even see the hood in this image. There may not even be one. Just smoke kind of goes above the roof there. And then we've got these frying pans with extra long handles, of course, so that he doesn't, again, burn his fingers, because he's got quite the fire going. And look at this spoon. He's got like a 3-foot long spoon, again, so he can stir from a distance. Same book, different image. Love this one even more. The kitchen's got more stuff in it. Again, this is probably mid 1600s. He's got ceramic cook pots. He's got a cooking kettle over the fire. He's got a spit with sausages on it. That's such a great way to cook sausages. It's even got a crank so you can turn it around. And then he's got on the hood there are ceramic vessels turned upside down to keep the mice out of them. And some tools along the wall. But notice how very few tools there are really hanging out here. He's got some tongs. He's got a spoon. There's some shovel. I don't know what that fork thing is for. Maybe he eats a lot. I don't know.
Usually forks are made for poking things.
Yeah, exactly. But why that one's like that, I don't know. And there's even a little broom there so he can, sweep ashes off of that. And yes, that is a guy there. He's just got a thing going on there. Next.
Someone in the chat said the angles.
Yeah. Their art is a little, it's fun. It's fun. I like this kind of art. Yeah. Again, this is, I think it's the late 16th century, and this is a aristocracy's kitchen, right? This might even be like a prince or a king's kitchen, and it's chock full of lots of people doing work.
Yeah.
We have animals hanging out there. Look at that. I mean, there's like a live lamb just sitting there. I don't think that pig is alive, or he's really taking a nap. People doing dishes. A guy kicking back by the fireplace, but there's no roaring fire in it yet. Sideboards, food storage for all these cooking vessels. Look above the fireplace, all kinds of equipment there. This is a packed kitchen full of equipment and plenty of people to use them. But notice this kitchen is full. It's got a great cooking area. It's got lots of storage area. It's got lots of working area. And there's even, food storage there. This is a very complex
It's interesting
kitchen.
how much of it's open.
Yes.
Our kitchens now, it's like there's a counter everywhere you look, or an island even in the middle, right? There's a lot of open room there.
And this is a well-to-do kitchen. Wait till we go further on. Go ahead. This is probably early 17th century, or even mid there. Again, a very well-to-do kitchen. Very large cooking space. That big raised hearth. That's huge. and cooking vessels upside down, and serving vessels along the wall. You don't see any storage for food here, and multiple people cooking. Go ahead. Now we get to kind of simpler. Now here's one of the problems with pulling a study like this is number one, we tend to be concerned with North America and United States and the early history of that. Guess what? Nobody was doing art at that time of this kind of genre art, which is just they're called genre paintings, and they're very domestic. And this is Dutch, 17th century. What do we see here? A giant vessel for holding pancake batter. A smaller vessel there, like a little saucepan. Maybe it's to make the topping. She's got a plate to put them on when they're finished, and she's got a long-handled frying pan to cook them. The gentleman there that is sort of crouched there, I don't know if I'd call him a gentleman, but the person there by the fire, he's got his mug he's drinking out of, and then there's a little bit of cooking items there on the wall. That is it. This is a very primitive kitchen area. Next. Again, a well-to-do kitchen. There's a larder back there for storing the finished food. Lots of prep space. I wish this one, I had more pixels on this one. I know there's not a lot of resolution on this. Sorry about that, but it's only just so big. But look how this huge raised hearth, and it's got multiple places he can cook on. He's got one big fire in the middle. It's got an item on a spit. There's a kettle above that.
Yeah.
He's got a little fire off to the side with a little frying pan on it. It's made with a lot of different work surfaces, and that means that this is again, very well-to-do situation. Multiple people doing prep work, tons of servingware. This is rich cooking. Now, again, back into the Dutch genre paintings of the 17th century, late 17th century, we've got a small cooking space in the back. Other things are going on. You don't want to know what the guy there under the window is doing. The person there, there's more than just cooking going on in the kitchen. She's doing spinning work there. It looks like an altercation in the back there by the cooking spot. And we have food storage and some cooking vessels there. Nice little bread. Check out those bread loaves, Ryan.
Yes.
Look familiar?
Yes.
Yeah, a little storage on the wall. And we can go on to the next one. Again, another one of these Dutch kitchens. Not a lot of things going on. A little firewood setting there. Some more. They're doing pancakes again. Same exact thing. A big ceramic vessel for mixing the batter in. A griddle. The finished place. I don't know. Maybe that's butter in that dish right there in the center on the floor in the foreground. A couple people sitting by the fire smoking pipes, and behind them, their cooking storage, cooking utensil storage, but it's very stripped down. There's not a lot here. This is 1770, and we use this image a lot. I love this image. The cook there, and he's got his little recipe there, or his receipt, as they would say in the time period. We have a large cooking area in the back with both a raised hearth and a standard cooking hearth. He's sort of in the larder and prep area here. So there's food storage. There's, like dead birds hanging out. There's our cat hanging out. But I mean, what's in this kitchen so far? Well, we got storage, and then where to cook. Not a lot of space. And I mean, where do you do the dishes? Where's the refrigerator? Right? None of these things are happening in this kitchen. It's just where's basically the fire, and where do we do our prep work? This is out of Diderot's, and this is a confectioner's kitchen. And he's got storage along the left-hand side with lots of mixing vessels and probably some of their ingredients. A barrel that's probably full of maybe sugar or something. Some nice big prep areas. Again, this is a commercial kitchen. Big windows so that there's a lot of light coming in. He's got a cooking surface, and these cooking surfaces are actually, sometimes these are made two different ways. You can have the fire on top, Or in this case, the fire actually goes in those little footholes, and then the heat comes up from underneath. That's a very kind of fancy way of making those raised hearths. And then we can even see along the side there's sort of like a cistern, right? It's got little spigots so they can, but it's right at it's ground level. So, you want to fill your things with water, you got to put them on the floor.
Yeah, but they're counting on gravity to help with that pressure, right?
Exactly. So either you have to raise the water up real high and then the water comes out at waist level, or in this case, you put the water in at waist level and it comes out at the floor and no place for it to
So
drain.
the hood that he's got is a lot like the one in the German kitchen.
Exactly.
Is this a German kitchen?
No, this is French. This is Diderot's. This is Diderot's. But this kind of cooking surface isn't rare even in England and some of the bigger kitchens. And this is, again, the French macaroni cook. Now, I think he's actually supposed to be in England, and he's got one of these cooking surfaces. Again, it's like a raised hearth, and you could probably use it either way, but it's got like coals in that little box there. So it's a very controlled heat, but there's no place for that carbon monoxide, for lack of a better word, no place for it to go. So that's why the window's right there. So you can open up that window and breathe and not keel over dead. A little work surface behind him, a little storage up high. Notice there's a big ham up there.
Yeah, those crocks almost look like nesting crocks too. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of funny because he's a macaroni cook. He cares about what he looks like. So what's there by the window? A mirror so he can look at himself while he's cooking. This is Spain.
And he is picking his nose, isn't he?
Yeah, he was picking.
Yeah.
Don't look close. This is Spain, 18th century, right there in the middle, 1760s, 1770s. Very, very similar hearth. Look at that hearth. I mean, just same thing going on. Raised hearth, big hood. And we've got multiple people working. This guy in the middle, he definitely looks like a chef material, right? And then the lowly cook's helper there, scaling fish, or I don't know what exactly. Maybe he's plucking a bird. I'm not sure. Lots of stuff going on and very colorful. I don't know if people really cooked dressed up that fancy.
Those look rather fancy. Those dresses do.
Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't.
Man.
I don't know. Could be they're trying to make it look like even our cooks dress fancy. I am not sure. And the women aren't wearing headgear, which again, it's so different from culture to culture, even here in the 18th century, as to what might be appropriate and what isn't. This is like 1790s English kitchen. Again, a big fancy kitchen. They've got a standard hearth over there. It's sort of a grate style hearth. We got food hanging up above. They got a wall clock. So again, this is super fancy kitchen. Lots of eating ware and lots of kind of clamor going on here.
This is a rude and clamorous.
Yeah, they're definitely rude and clamorous when you have an antagonist like that that's trying to. I'm not sure about the story on this one. It would make a good image.
That skeleton's hungry though. He's not playing.
I think he's actually. I think it has to do with gluttony. He's saying these people are gluttons. I guess maybe. This is sort of German engraving from 1770s, and this is the little spit boy. He is turning the spit, the little helper in the kitchen, and we're looking at the cook surface, we're looking at the items they're cooking, and the equipment that they have. Again, we have ember tongs. He's got his little guy he's turning there, and it's got the shield, again, to protect him, to reflect that heat back away from him, because there's an amazing quantity of radiant heat just roaring off of a fire like that. And if you're going to stand there and turn that spit, you got to have something to protect you. But again, what's in this kitchen? I mean, imagine having to cook like that instead of, oh, I go over there, and I turn on my electric stove or my gas stove, and it's all controlled heat and it's very focused, and we don't have to worry about burning ourselves just getting close to it within 3 feet. So one of the things we have not seen in pictures up till now is a sink. What are you doing with your dishes? I mean, that real early one with a huge one, there was a big tub on 3 legs, and these people were washing dishes. That was, probably the first sink we saw. Here, she's washing the dishes. She had to bring in the water. She had to heat the water. And now she's standing up there and washing the dishes. And when she's done, she'll have to drain the water out and take it away. And she's got this window that reflects light down onto what she's doing, so she can actually see whether the dishes are done.
Yeah, I love the lighting in this painting. That's really
it's
cool.
all about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And we can see all the different cooking vessels.
Mm-hmm.
We can get an idea of the hearth. It's just like raised up a little bit, like 6 or 8 inches. We see cooking vessels. We see serving vessels and a long-handled frying pan, and look at that, it's got a little spout built into it. This is probably 1790s, I believe. Go ahead. Now we start to move into the early 19th century. Now notice things really haven't changed at all yet. I mean, really, from the first kitchen to the last, there is no difference. Here again we have a very multi-use room. This room has, there's a saw in it. I don't know if the saw is for cooking or not, but they're living. This is a major living space. There's a pitcher on the mantle there. There's a little teapot, a few householdy kind of things. If you look up in the rafters, there's food stored. There's a ham up there, and it's smoky up there. Look how dark it is up there. Mm-hmm. We've got our cooking surface off to the left. What is he doing? He's shucking corn.
Yeah.
And then we have this a guest who's come in to their area, and they haven't stopped working.
I'd like to imagine it's a door-to-door salesman.
Yeah. He's about to run the guy out. Hey, let me sell you this piece. Anyway, so again, such a simple, even though it's the heart of the house, really the only thing going on here that's any different from any other room is a larger hearth, and that they actually do all their food prep in here and probably eat it here. This is, I think, Germany, 1820s. Now, this room is overpacked with equipment. I'm not sure exactly what the artist is trying to say here. Again, it's richly stored with both food, with serving vessels and cooking vessels, just crazy. We can't see the hearth back there. There's there's smoke. But lots of stuff in a painting like this to look at. The copperware is not lined. Very interesting. You have to keep that bright and shiny. If you don't line that stuff with tin, it'll poison you. So you have to keep it very, very clean. But they have woodenware, they have brassware, they have copperware. They have lots of expensive cooking vessels. Not like silver, which is, you can do stuff out of super expensive stuff. But again, expensive cooking vessels and lots of different kinds of food here. Even a swan or a goose there on the...
I'm trying to decide if that's silver up by the window next to the bottle.
It's a ceramic. It's a blue and white ceramic
is it?
vessel, okay. I believe. We keep moving a little bit later. This is, I think, all the way into after 1860 here. But almost nothing's changed. We have a little water cistern on the right-hand side so that they can pour water out, but they have to fill it up again. I mean, it's not like water comes shooting through the wall or anything. Not even a pump here. It's probably a pump in the courtyard. They bring the water in, fill that up so that they can pour out little bits at a time. A sideboard there with food storage or equipment storage. She's got a pie, and well, it makes me hungry just looking at it. Lots of bottles there. Our cooking area has probably, I can't remember, but I believe this is almost a stove fixture that's been set into where a big fireplace used to be on that wall. So by this time they're getting those stoves together. They're controlling that fire, but it's not that much different than it was 100 years earlier, 200 years earlier, or 300 years earlier. Go ahead. So this is 1890s, and this is sort of one of those, here's what a modern kitchen looks like. Clock on the wall. We have our stove fully set into the wall. It's still got bricks all around it, and it may be an insert into an older fireplace. We have a water heater that's built into that stove. See that big brass thing, and it's got a spigot so that it automatically heats your water. How lucky she is to have hot water, and then cold water comes through the wall there. I'm not sure, how the water is sort of plumbed there, but she can do the dishes. She's got hot water. She's got this big closet there full of all her equipment and food storage too, and just one little sort of table, no countertops, full of equipment, even in 1890. So it's starting to feel a little bit more like, a kitchen.
Do you start seeing that trend now where everything's kind of enclosed in a cabinet or in built-ins instead of out on shelves everywhere?
Yeah, I think that's real. I mean, especially if you want to make your thing look tidy. Mm-hmm. And at one point in time, you're trying to show off all your expensive cooking equipment. But then later on, the look is, no, I'm going to hide all this stuff. I mean, people can probably walk in and see the stove itself and go, whoa, wow, look at that. I mean, that thing is monumental. So you don't have to show off with all your pots and pans anymore. You're showing off with the very stove that is, again, the heart of the house. And I wanted to show this picture. This is the end of it. I thought this was hilarious. This is 1925. Someone, when I cut the bread for the meal, right? And someone's like, oh, you really should use a serrated knife.
Oh, yeah.
This is 1925. This is in the inventions section of the Scientific American. Like, crazy new thing just out. Extraordinary efficient bread knife. Instead of being scalloped in the old-fashioned way, this blade is serrated. So, even cutting bread, what we think of as, they had serrated knives. They had knives like we expect today. That's really very new. I love going into that Scientific American in the 20s because you'll find this, amazing toaster. It uses electricity. It's just great inventions, a lot of kitchen inventions. And we would look at them and just laugh, especially, and then think, well, if they're inventing these things in the 1920s, what kind of kitchen gadgets are we taking for granted for 1780, 1800? So crazy.
I think folks probably see saws and they're like, of course they had serrated knives.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's not quite exactly like, we imagine today.
Although you have that one little saw that might as well be a bread knife.
It is.
It was a cool little saw.
Although, it would really chew your loaf up. I've got this, but if you've got questions you want to jump in with?
Yeah, I've got quite a bit.
Okay, and I'll come back to this.
Let's start with the chat, and then we'll get into super chat.
Yeah.
So somebody was asking about root cellars. Were they being used, and were they just being dug with a person and a shovel?
Yes and yes. Yeah, sure. Root cellars and cellars in general. And they don't necessarily say root cellar like in cookbooks or different items, they'll just say cellar. And so sometimes it may or may not be underneath the house, maybe beside the house. It all depends on, well, they don't tend to tell us that. But the idea of cellars for putting items that need to stay cooler, that is very universal. You know, they'll say right there in the 18th century cookbooks, this needs to be stored in the cellar, meaning it can't withstand, you know, your standard house heat.
Someone asked, is that dome above the fire where they stored meat for preservation?
So, no, the dome above the fire is a funnel to take the smoke away. But what naturally happens in that kitchen area is that only gets maybe 50%, or, you know, it depends on how your chimney is built. It doesn't really, it just helps get the smoke out. And then you'll see in so many of those paintings and in other paintings, things being stored at ceiling level. And those things that are being stored up there they're basically constantly being smoked. They're being stored hanging many times, or a hanging shelf. And they do that to keep rodents away, other vermin, and they are naturally kind of constantly getting smoked. That's the warmest, driest air up there, and certain things will, you know, perfectly be preserved up there. You might store bread up there in the short term. You definitely will store bacon and ham and different cuts of meat. And again, short term, long term, depends. Sometimes you'll even see cheese up there, different items like that.
C.H. Davis says, I'm about to order a clay pipe from you all. Can't wait. Any tobacco recommendations, Ryan? Get Samuel Galwith 1792 flake. You won't be disappointed. It's a hefty smoke.
Samuel Galwith.
Galwith. Yep, Samuel Galwith. Gawith, I believe. 1792 flake. It's great. Did they use Dutch ovens indoors?
Yes, and generally they're not. Sometimes you got to be careful of the word, because Dutch oven in the 18th century doesn't necessarily mean a cast iron camp kettle. Sometimes it actually means a tin kitchen, one of those little reflector ovens, we might call them today. But a camp kettle, again, or a bake kettle is one of the terms that they use for that cast iron bakeware. And if you don't have an oven, whether you are outside or inside, if you don't have an oven, then that's the kind of baking vessel you're going to be using, more than likely, unless you do like what we did. We did a bread episode last year where we baked the bread under the kettle.
Yeah.
Remember that?
And you'll see a lot of
summer,
recipes call for that.
Right, so you can use a standard kettle upside down and put coals upon it, or heat it up and use its thermal heat to bake in it. But the ones with the lids that are, you know, called Dutch ovens today, you can use those. Yeah,
even the fried cream. I revisited that recipe the other day, the creme brulee thing, and she said for that to bake it under a flattish. I can't remember the exact term she used, but she was meaning a shallow baking dish with a fire on either side of it. So, I think the one that we baked, that was like a really big, deep kettle. Right. Okay. And then somebody just asked, what was common fuel for the hearths? Was it wood? Was coal used at all? And when did that transition start happening?
So it depends on where you're at, but so like in North America, we always have cooked with wood because we have like lots and lots of trees. But by the time you get to the 18th century in England, that's getting much more difficult to get a hold of. So wood isn't, it's a transition to things like coal. So there definitely is a transition going on where there's a lack of fuel. Now, firewood gets to be much more precious even in places like Philadelphia, where they talked about how, well, basically all the firewood's been, used up for, 50 or 60 miles around, and so they have to bring it in. But they do that because there's a lot of coal, and someplace like Philadelphia, they can actually, a lot of wood, they could bring it in by the river, and so you can really transport a lot more quickly than you would over land.
Yes. Okay. How about kitchens in the house versus kitchens outside of the house? They were obviously not wanting to burn their house down, so a lot of at least wealthier families would have kitchens off-site from the house.
Yeah, perfect example is Mount Vernon. If you visit that, there's like the main block house, and then they have these sort of walkway wings that go out from either side, and there's a kitchen on one side, and I can't remember what the building was on the other side. Doesn't matter. The kitchen was definitely off the side. That certainly can happen and does happen. You get rid of the heat. You get rid of, funky smells or what's going on in the kitchen. You don't have to worry about that sort of thing. They can be smoky. So there are many different reasons to have a cooking place outside of the house. But even in Mount Vernon, there was a talk that possibly down in the kitchen or down under in the cellar, there was a spot to cook inside. Do you remember that, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't remember everything they had to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. That was tough. So, but yeah, there's definitely that situation where you want a summer kitchen that's outside to cook in. Very, very common, even in not necessarily in well-to-do situations.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I'm going to get in the super chat a little bit. Ryan Mercier was the first one in. What to buy from Jess Townsends and Son when we close on our house? I don't know what you should buy, but I'm happy that you're closing on your house.
Yeah, that's
Do you have
always
any
exciting.
Suggestions for Ryan to buy from us?
I don't know what kind of house and what he needs. Is he trying to furnish his kitchen or something else? I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah, there's something in the kitchen section on the website that you'll find, I'm sure. That's where I would go. Lyra of Spinning Winds. Do you think you'll ever do a video on the production and distribution of textiles of the period? I'm a huge nerd for historical fabrics, weaving, dyeing, etc.
Yeah. It's a massive topic. We don't even, number one, sewing isn't a thing that gets done as much as it used to by any. I don't even know if they teach that in school these days. I have been out of school way too long for that. But even fabric stores, even though we can buy things online, even when I was a kid, fabric stores were much more common, and they aren't as common today. So today we take textiles for granted, and in the 18th century, they were, if you go through inventories of stores, they were like 3/4 fabric stores. Even if they had a lot of food or other things, they seemingly always sold fabric. It was a huge commodity that we don't even think twice about. It's like, well, make sure to go buy some fabric when you're at the store. We never think about that.
Okay, Tyson Q. When can I buy a ticket to a frontier-style meal at the cabin?
I have no idea. It sounds incredible, doesn't it?
Let's see here. Noctulus Emitor, I think. I always have trouble with that one. Nutmeg in, nutmeg out, nutmeg for life.
Yes.
Man.
You know it.
Have truer words ever been spoken?
Not that I know
believe
of.
so. David Parker in Super Chat. Tip for the host. Oh, that's
Thank you.
very kind. Yeah.
Thank you.
Denise Maloney Piran. Enjoy my Nutmeg Traders oolong tea.
Good.
What are you guys drinking today?
I am drinking oolong tea. Who knows what Ryan has found digging around back there? He could be drinking anything.
I'm not drinking anything right now. It's the first, right? Usually whatever I find back here
I got some mushroom ketchup.
Thanks. Usually whatever I find back here is rum or something that has been mixed up with rum.
This one's empty, sorry.
Mike Kruk in Super Chat. Made Hannah Glass's pear tart today. So good. How did washing up cleaning work in 18th century kitchens? How did washing up or cleaning work in 18th century kitchens?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. I mean, the idea that, number one, you have to go and somebody has to fetch the water. And somebody has to heat the water on the fire if you want it warm at all. Then you have to deal with this. I mean, there's no Dawn dishwashing, soap. You're just using some old slimy soft soap to, wash these, scrub them out. And you're not cooking on a nice electric hob or a gas burner. No, he's covering this thing with soot and all kinds of, soot goes everywhere. You can't, you're covered with it as soon as you try to, wash one thing. That's why I never wash the dishes.
Well, back then, too, a lot of it's just hot water over the heat, scrub it out.
Right.
That's how you clean your cast irons now, if you're doing things
cast
the right
iron,
way.
But things stick, and then you gotta grind it off of there, and it's a terrible job for the time period. Then you have to get rid of all that nasty water. It would take so much more time, and that's, okay, so we don't use a dishwasher at home, but so many people just, hey, dirty thing, you toss it into this box, you press the button, and in theory, it comes out clean, right? Nothing like that.
Mike also said thank you for the flavors and aromas. Tomato Max is a new member, so thank you very much for that. Do you want to talk about YouTube membership real quick?
Yeah, so YouTube membership, it is your chance to sort of, join in and help us out and have fun with things like emojis and, all kinds of, I don't know. What would you say about membership, Ryan?
Well, I think the best part about it so far is that, like, I see those people's comments and they stick out, and you can see how long they've been around by the emoji that's next to their name. It's a lot of fun. Plus, they get to use all these special emojis that Aaron and I
and are still making up new ones.
Right.
Yep.
And can I interrupt you and talk about Patreon for just a second?
Yeah,
While we're there, wanted to grab the Patreon new names for this week. There are a bunch of people that help us out on Patreon, and it's one of those ways, kind of like membership, where you can sign up, and it takes out a little bit of money per month. You get to choose whatever that is. And I try to get to the new people each week. This week, Kristen Ides, Leon Masterbrook, Erica Darling, Allison Harvey, Catherine Bradley, Diane Spears, Just Abigail, Johnny Morales, Pieter, Bill Lamb, Russell Shortridge, I think I got it right, Kyler Pinto, this guy who writes his stuff down, he needs to get better, Lauren Matson, Ann Barsda, and T. Gorman. Those guys are all brand new. I had something else I wanted to say, but go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, okay. So more super chat. Mike Howell, happy Friday, Townsends. Would you guys consider doing an overnight campout episode in the cabin this winter, or maybe a couple days stay?
Definitely. We're definitely planning something like that. But we plan a lot of things, and unfortunately, there are not 500 days in a year, or 1,000 for that matter.
I'm actually kind of thankful that there are not 1,000 days in the year. That'd be a plan. That'd be that long game.
I'm feeling like they get shorter every day. It's like, what happened? It's a 3-hour day. What's going on?
You just said, I'm feeling like, and then you grumbled into your cup for 5 seconds before you said anything. David Donnelly is in super chat. What was the period? I'm sorry. I got distracted. What was the period way of cleaning copper and brass? Also, did they have any way to keep copper from tarnishing? So you covered a little bit about the tarnishing.
They did not have a good way of keep copper from tarnishing. They had to grind on it to make sure it stayed clean. We actually have an old episode that talks about horsetail, which is, and I've had it here in a live stream recently, that sort of like built-in sandpaper. But you really need to just basically grind on that thing. You can use sand, light sand, or brick dust. They had multiple different kinds of brick dust that they would wash those things with, or basically scrub that soot off, make sure it didn't have any green copper salts that were the poison part, and you would, those shining coppers were everyone's sign that you were cleaning these things all the time. Because if you just leave a piece of copper around, it starts to turn immediately within a day or two. But if you see someone and their coppers are all bright and shiny, you know they've worked on them within the last day or two.
Yep. That's true. Speed and Style Tony in Super Chat. How common were Benjamin stoves, and were they used much for meal prep?
Good question, and one that I do not know. It's really hard to, number one, answer a question like were they used for meal prep, because it's not talked about a lot. And it's hard to know about popularity. Of course, we know that they had them, and we can look in something like this that I want to talk about here in a second, but we should have made this an hour and a half today. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
a lot to talk about, but yes, I don't know, again, how popular. I know, obviously, they had them. Don't know if they were doing a lot of food prep on them.
We've got a ton of questions still to get through. Let's try to shorten the answers a little bit.
Okay.
Get right to it.
I'll get to
To
it.
the core of the apple. Denise Maloney Piran, I want to mug the color of John's coat. Top hat. What were chefs' knives like in the 18th century?
A lot like ours today. Really? Haven't changed much.
All right. Bobby Hewitt, I used to work on a tall ship in Galveston Island, Texas. The name was the Elisa. How many kitchen techniques designs translated to cooking at sea?
Basically all of them.
You can stretch this a little further because a lot of people in the chat want to know what a ship's galley looked like.
I would send them to, and I don't have any pictures. I tried to get them, but it's really hard to. There's Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum in Boston. They've got a couple little ships there that are replica ships of the 18th century, and they have tremendous, this little ship's galley that's like bolted to the top or bolted to the deck, right? And it's maybe a box like this big that cooks the meals for everyone on board. And it's like a miniature kitchen. I love it. And it's like I need to go there and do a special episode just on a ship's galley. Hey guys, Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum, talk to me.
That would be awesome. Stephanie Clay, interesting historically kitchen decorations. We really mostly useful equipment or food. Wow. Interesting historically.
He's trying to...
Now it seems there's more space for purely decorative items.
Yeah. There's not much decoration going on. It's the things themselves were the decoration, and it was a working spot. You know, no fancy stuff.
Max, you're cool. What cooking activity would a common family be doing the most in their kitchen or cooking area?
What kind of cooking activity?
Yeah,
Cooking?
Sure. Would they be cleaning the animals there? Would they be prepping meat there? Would they be doing that elsewhere?
Yeah, the meat's going to be, other than like small things like fowl, they're going to come in as a just killed bird, and they're going to pluck them and do all that kind of stuff there. All the other butchering is done sort of out, and you're going to be doing all those other kinds of dishes, that need the prep work. You're making paste for pies and all that good stuff.
Lindsay Baird, my husband, told me to check your channel after I did a hearth cooking class at Old Sturbridge Village back in February, and have been a dedicated watcher ever since. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad
That's awesome.
You are enjoying those. And again, for all those folks out there that are semi-new to the channel, the back catalog is huge. There's probably 300 or 400 cooking episodes. Really? Did I do that many? Yes. Check them out.
William White, do the blue and white tiles on your tavern's fireplace have a proper name? Google has been of no help. Love the channel, John.
Try Dutch Delft tiles, or just Delft tiles.
How do you spell that?
DELFT.
Okay. Tony Abbott in Super Chat, can you do an episode on Acadian cooking?
I can, but I have to do some special research for that, and I don't have the connections in my head right now.
11 Bang Bang on Super Chat. Now that it's October, I was curious if you ever considered doing anything with Washington Irving's Legend of Sleepy Hollow. It goes into great deal about harvest celebration in the 18th century.
Are you reading my mind or what?
Man, you don't even want to know the conversations we've been having about that book. John Talley in the Super Chat. I know Francis Bacon was suggested for the boar. How about Franklin Bacon? We do need to get with the naming him, don't we?
Yeah. we're working on it. We're working on it.
Yeah.
We had a couple new ones come in. I
You
like
guys in the chat think about that more often than
Yeah.
we do, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
John Talley, again, to make a giant earthen oven like your oven, can I get the stuff I need for it at the hardware store?
Well, you can get everything but the clay generally at the hardware store. I would look for a masonry supply store to look for clay unless you have clay on your property or where you can get some. That's generally the sticking point, and in some places it's the easiest thing in the world. In other places, clay, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Grace C votes for Boris Porkbelly. Aaron Howitt is in the chat. Just found out Michael Twitty got married yesterday. I've been listening to his book and I love it. Very glad to have discovered him thanks to you.
Yeah, great.
Lee Miller is in super chat. Says thanks for being you with one of those poultry pair guys. Sir Kevin Bacon is also it's in there.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I think we've been talking about this in chat. I absolutely think we can get to 1,000 likes. Everybody like the video.
Likes.
Let's do this.
Oh
'cause
yeah, that'd be
almost
awesome.
Woo!
Okay, Hamlet. Man, folks really want to name this thing.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah,
We're gonna
dude.
put out a poll and see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. I'll vote.
Let's
I
just
remember
do
we
that.
said that a month ago.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
Chris P. Bacon.
Oh man, that might have just won.
I think so.
Okay, so I've got questions galore, but you've got more stuff that you want to cover. So let's do that. Why don't you cover some stuff?
Before I get too far into, I want to go back to kitchens for just a minute. Philip Esteban, who is one of the Patreon folks, he messaged me on Patreon about, people ask about the long S. So sometimes we'll show those recipes and they get the long S. Everybody's like, how do you read that? And what's going on with that? We actually did an episode about the long S a million years ago, but he gave me a link to this wonderful document that explains the 18th century ligatures and fonts, and this is a ligature, that long S, and about exactly when they used them, why, well, I don't know if there's why, because they were crazy, but exactly when you use them, all the rules, never use it before this or after that, or, it's always like, what? It seems very
Terribly
hit and miss.
inconsistent. Yeah.
Right, and there's even computer fonts that it talks about computer fonts that have them. So Aaron put the link in, right? Did you put the link in the chat?
I
Look in your email,
Okay.
you'll find the link, and then you can put it in the chat.
Hey, did we hit 1,000? I think we
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Okay.
Man, look
Aaron's
at you
going to work
guys.
on that link for the long S if you're interested, and that is good. And thank you, Philip Esteban.
Yeah, I never got that email.
Anyway, you didn't get it?
It's not. In
I must have not
Didn't you
hit
tell
this.
me
Maybe
the
you
other
said
day? Didn't you tell me the other day that you have all of John's emails sent to junk?
I'll check my trash.
I must have not hit the send button. I'll put the link in the description when this video goes back up, and we'll talk about it next week. Kitchens in the 18th century and other things to find out about what's going on with the kitchen. I don't have very much time, so I'm going to go fast. This is a book about inventories of houses in Chester County, Pennsylvania from 1684 through 1850, and it goes through and it'll give you the this is just some excerpt about inventories of the time period. I'll have to talk about this book later because it's so fascinating, but it has example inventories in the back. Here's an inventory from, this is a big inventory, 1777, John Knowles in Ridley, Pennsylvania. And the cool thing is these inventories, they inventoried each room. They just walk through the room and they'd write all the stuff down. So we get to know exactly what's in each room. In the kitchen, one dough trough. It's kind of behind. One dough trough, you'll see that Monday. 2 tables, 1 fire screen, 4 iron pots, 2 hangers, 1 pair of andirons, a fire shovel and tongs, a bake iron frying pan and 2 gridirons, a plate rack, 4 pot racks, 1 iron crane, 4 pair of flat irons, a lantern, a steel, a toasting iron, 5 candlesticks, 2 snuffers, a copper, 1 copper, 1 iron, tea kettles, a saucepan, a small kettle, a copper mug, 11 pewter plates, 5 dishes, 5 chairs, a dripping pan, a spit, a pair of steel yards. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that. A mortar, cheese flats, sheep shears, skewers, 1 pair, and irons, fire, shovel, and tongs. So it's all kind of messed up there. But really, for a super well-to-do kitchen, compared to our kitchens today, really, there's hardly anything in there at all. Amazing inventories to go through, and it's a study in and of itself to go through and look at how those inventories change over time. This book helps you do it.
What is that book?
This book's called Chester County, Pennsylvania Inventories, 1684 through 1885. Margaret Schiffer. This is the book that started Schiffer Publishing. Don't think it's available anymore, but it is astounding. I love this book.
Andrew Enneking in the super chat. Would you find fish sauce or fish sauce based sauces in British Isles or colonial America, such as the original catsup in China?
Definitely.
Definitely. I like that. Wendy Carson in a donation without a comment.
Thank you.
So many people seem to be interested in where Michael Dragoo is. He's fine. He's great.
Yeah, we've talked to Michael.
Yeah.
Yep. He's just been busy with other things.
Yeah, as everybody is.
Yeah.
Probably due for a batch of
Yeah.
episodes with him.
And then there's just a lot more discussion about the pig. I think we can say thank you and farewell.
Wow. It's intense. It's intense. I feel like I'm trying to fit 1 hour into. 2 hours in one.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Josh's just chilling back
Yeah.
there.
Stretch it out.
It means a lot to be able to come into the Nutmeg Tavern and sort of interact the way we interact, bring the material we bring in. And again, it's, I always have fun kind of prepping for this. And it's one of those, it's like, do your homework, John. And every time I prep for a live stream, I learn new stuff. And I just love to bring it here. It's always a lot of fun. So.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Talk about the next episode, the one we filmed yesterday.
What do you want me to say about it?
Well, what did we do? We did some stuff.
Well,
Push it
we
to the
talked
limit.
about in the meal one just how many loaves of bread we can fit in that oven. You got to see it. It's a wow.
We did a lot of bacon.
Check out Monday's
Jeez.
episode. Check out Monday's episode. It is going to be a lot of fun, and Aaron says it turned out great.
I'm very excited.
Because you never know. I mean, it's like we do our thing in front of the camera, and then what happens in that magic box, and then afterwards.
And then
That
Aaron
was
saves us.
Well, no, that was a shoot as we were shooting it. It was like, this is going to be good.
Okay.
Yep.
So, again, wow. Thank you guys for your support, whether it's Patreon, whether it's merch going to our website, or super chat, membership, all these different ways people get to help us out. And if you can't help us out that way, you're watching the videos, you're commenting on the videos, you're sharing the videos. That means a lot. And so I want to thank you guys for the amazing things you do to help us do what we do, whatever that is. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later.